How long does it take to mix a song? Now, this greatly depends on what is involved. It greatly depends on how many stems. For instance, a 10-track mix takes far less time than a 100-track mix. I mean, it just obviously makes sense. It's the thing is there's no definitive answer here. I cannot tell you how long it takes to mix a song. I can tell you how long on average. Let's say a 11 to 25 stem mix, from the actual point of starting the mix and having the whole mix set up ready to mix, it probably takes, I mean, it can quite easily take just over an hour to do a mix. But now what I'm not factoring in when I say that is the setup time. The stems, importing the stems, setting the session up, plugins all set up, everything's set up, the whole mix session is set up. Now that can take about 30 minutes before mixing even starts. So that's not factoring that in. But the actual mix time of actually getting straight down and mixing a track, yeah, probably about an hour, just over an hour. And there's reasons for that. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is I'm very efficient in the way that I work. I mean, I do lots and lots of mixing every day, constantly. So I've become very efficient. I'm working on an Avid S4. The way I can mix is really quick because I fly around the console. Like, if I was using a mouse and keyboard, I'd be 10 times slower. Honestly, I really would, because it's like, you know, it would be painful, and it is painful. And I personally couldn't do it. I have to work on one of these consoles. From a business perspective, this thing saves me so much time, which saves me money. Now, the thing with a console like that is I can work like 10 times faster than most other people, because all my plugins have instant control. Every plugin is instantly controllable, and it's like jumping around every piece as a hardware piece. I have now think of the Avid S4, right? What basically it is Pro Tools out the box, or Logic out the box. It's basically your DAW controller, but now Logic or Pro Tools becomes a physical piece of hardware. So everything that you do in Pro Tools on screen, you're just doing in front of you. So everything, all your grouping, all your everything, like your spills onto folder tracks, everything is on the console. So you can imagine, right? Once you know how to fluently use one of these consoles, you fly around a mix. You literally fly. And what takes me an hour would take someone else 5 hours, and that's just, you know, and they probably wouldn't achieve the same result because of the way I'm able to work far quicker and fly around a console. I'm able to get a better result based on the fact that I'm working in a lot more efficient way with each stem. For instance, the plugins that I'm using, I'm using them a lot more intuitively, in the sense that I'm really dialing in settings rather than a mouse and a keyboard. You don't do that as well. It's like comparing how you would use an EQ in the analog world compared to how you would use an EQ with a mouse and keyboard. You're going to be a lot more effective on a piece of hardware regardless of the sound quality, just because you're hands-on with it and you're getting more involved with it. And that's the same thing with the Avid S4. The other things are, like, you know, I'm working in Atmos. Things that are like building space in a mix. Other engineers that, you know, they might be fighting to find the space, whereas I don't have to fight to find the space. I can find the space in a 3D space a lot easier than other people. So, you know, all these things factor into how quickly I can create a mix. So it's very difficult for me to say like how long it takes for me to mix a track in comparison to someone else, because it's like you know, I am quick in what I'm doing because of the equipment that I have around me. So yeah, I mean, how long does it take? I mean, it depends on the stem count. Let's go through it. Up to 10 stems, you're probably looking at up to an hour. This is for me, obviously, working in what I've just mentioned. Up to 25 stems, you're probably looking at about an hour and a half. Up to 50 stems, probably 2 hours, 2 hours 30. And like 100 stems, you're probably talking a good 4 hours. And bearing in mind, this is mixing. We're not talking about doing all the little production and doing all the intricate little things that have to go on. That's all taken care of before mixing. That's not what I consider as mixing. We're talking about the actual mix of a track, getting the stems that are, processed with, you've got delay sends and things like that. And, every stem is processed how the producer wants it. Now it's a case of mixing it, adding EQ, adding compression, adding all these different things. So we're not talking about actually going through and kind of going, oh, yeah, I've got to do some noise reduction now. I've got to remove some bits. I've got to do, oh, there's a click here, taking that click out. We're not talking about any of that. We're just talking about the actual nitty gritty of actually getting down and doing the mix. So yeah, that's kind of how long it takes. And I mean, it's different for different engineers. And it's not because some engineers, they want to spend more time because they want to get a better result. It very much comes down to it takes them the time it takes, because if they're on a mouse and a keyboard, for instance, or even if they're on an analog console, sometimes it takes longer when you're sitting on an analog console, things like that. So there's a lot of different factors that come into play. But for me, yeah, that's the kind of time frame it takes me to produce a mix.